All right, so we have a special episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. This is the Everything in Between part. This is actually a local s- um episode today where we talk a little bit of Cecil County, Maryland politics with none other than Adam Streight, who is running for the Cecil County executive position. And I'm excited to have him on. Took a few minutes to spend the time with us today. We got some fun questions to cover. We're not going to take too much of your time. But my whole goal in putting this together today was to help just educate the public. I don't know everything about anything. I don't know much about everything. But I think over the course of the next 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, Adam's going to share some information with you that will allow you as a local voter to decide and make an educated vote at the next election. So, Adam, I appreciate you taking the time to be on with me today. And first question for us is just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background in Cecil County, and just introduce yourself to the viewing audience.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody that's watching this and listening. That means you're paying attention, and it means that you're very interested in what your government's doing and what you could do to change it. Just to introduce myself, my name is Adam Streight. I am a Republican candidate to be the next Cecil County executive. I was born and raised in, well, I was raised in Harford County. I was actually born in Pennsylvania. I was raised in Harford County by two parents who fear God and love our country. They instilled in me the values of that makes me who I am today. Um, uh, and When I was 17 years old, I joined the Republican Party, and I've been a conservative ever since. I'm a lifelong conservative, and I embrace the traditional values of freedom, of self-reliance, of respect for others, the love of our community, and wisely spending taxpayer dollars to make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck for our investment. After my wife and I were married in 1999, we moved up here to Cecil County after I was hired by the Cecil County Sheriff's Office. We moved up here and we raised our family here. Um, all three of my kids are products of Cecil County Public Schools, and they lead happy and productive lives. My two oldest have a career in public service, and my youngest is a high school senior. And all three are doing very, very well. So over the course of 25 years in the sheriff's office, I've worked in criminal patrol, I've worked in drug units, child abuse investigations, civil process. Currently, I'm a sergeant in an investigative unit. I've been active in the local fraternal order of police. I've served as president for 4 years, and through that, I have pretty good experience testifying and working with local, state, and federal legislatures on crime and police issues. While I'm kind of relatively new as a political candidate, with this being my second run, I am not new to the political process. I've been doing it for a while.
That's good. I think it's important to have an understanding of politics, but not be so political you don't understand the real world. So it's a great mix as well. For those watching, knows a little bit about my story. I had 10 years of experience as a paramedic in urban and suburban areas, mostly around Philadelphia. So when I found out that you had public safety experience and police experience, it kind of gave us a common ground when we talked yesterday. Talk to those watching today. How does a public safety background working in law enforcement qualify you to serve in a county government?
So, having been in county government for so long, you know, just being a basic employee, I've seen what works, I've seen what doesn't work, and we kind of developed solutions to address these problems. And that's really what police work is when you boil it down, is problem solving. When you call 911 and I show up on your door, you expect me to solve your problem. If I can't solve it in 5 minutes, you expect me to either provide you for the resources or point you in the right direction to where you can get your problem solved. So that's what I do for a living. And this is the type of mindset that I want to bring to county government, is to solve problems, not passing the buck, not saying it's this agency's problem or that agency's problem. It's, you know what, I'm the county executive. Ultimately, the buck starts with me. Let's see if we can resolve this. And that's the mindset that I will bring as a county executive.
You said something yesterday during our conversation I think is valuable as well, is that the tenets of being in law enforcement require trust and integrity, and that when you're testifying in court or operating in the community, if the trust isn't there, the rest of the thing is done. And I think so many people view politicians as being dishonest. Coming into the office with a trust-based background, I think could be incredibly valuable to people, I think. Um, Explain real quickly though, what is the county executive? Because someone is watching this today, is worried about their kids, is worried about their county, but really has no clue what the county executive is or what their role is in our lives.
So our county is divided into two branches of government: the executive and the legislative. Kind of, yeah, I guess kind of like our state in federal government. We don't have a judiciary. I mean, we do, but that's more of a state government thing. So the county council is the legislative branch, and the county executive is the executive branch. So it's kind of compared to the mayor of a city, the governor of a state, the president of the United States. The executive is charged with running the day-to-day operations of the county, and enforcing the ordinances, enforcing the laws, and just making sure that they're the leader, they're the head. In our charter, the executive is charged with forming a budget each year that gets sent to the county council to either approve or disapprove. The county council cannot add to the budget. They can take away from the budget. So that's kind of what the executive does. They're the head of government for Cecil County.
Makes sense. I think it's important to see that they're not exactly operating in the legislative side. They operate in the executive branch because that part can be pretty confusing when you're trying to sort out who's what, why is this happening, and who do I talk to try to get change for my family and my community. A next question I have for you is I see all the time in your competitors' messaging in local conversation the phrase transparency and accountability. Now, they're great political buzzwords, but to you, what do transparency and accountability mean?
So it means it's doing what you say you're going to do and keeping your word. With somebody being the best disinfectant, just be honest with people and stop using political doublespeak and swallow your ego and work with others to get the job done, whether you like them or not. That's what you're being paid to do. You know, Ronald Reagan once said that if you can get 60% of what you want, take it. Go back later for the rest. He also said that it's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. Just work together, be honest with people, do what you say you're going to do. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, you owe them an explanation of why you can't do it. And let's figure out a way to make it right. That's what transparency and accountability means to me. Do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of politicians nowadays, especially in the bigger picture, they're working to become influencers. They want social media following. They want to be on the news 3 times a week. But I think politicians' role is to do the doing for us. Like we're hiring, we're voting, we're electing people to take care of the community and not just become, having a million subscribers on TikTok in the process. Obviously, that's not the case in local politics, but understanding what transparency and accountability means is also very important. So the biggest buzzword around town, especially for those with kids or with an appreciation for education, is what's going on with the school district. Over the course of the last 3 years, the school district has received what's called maintenance of effort, which is the legal minimum of funding that the county has to provide. But with federal funding running out, with COVID money over, more money is needed to be able to operate the school district. So let's start simple. Can you explain maintenance of effort to the viewing audience? And then let's kind of unpack what's going on because of it.
So maintenance of effort is it's a state requirement that whatever the county pays or funds the school system, it's actually broken down to per student. So whatever that money is, it breaks down per student. The county is required to fund at least that amount each year. So, for example, if the county funded gave an extra 1 million or $2 million, they're required from here on out to at least fund that extra. Um, I think that the intent was to keep county governments from defunding or cutting school budgets. I do think that the unintended consequence of that was it kind of gave a disincentive for counties to increase the budget, knowing that they're on the hook for that forever. But with that being said, that shouldn't really deter doing what you need to do to properly fund the schools. And in this situation, the county executive, Daniel Hornberger, has only funded at maintenance of effort level for the last 3 years. Now, I don't know about you, but costs have gone up over the last 3 years. Groceries, electric, everything. Your dollar doesn't stretch as it did 3 years ago, but she apparently thinks that it does, and that's how she's funded the schools. Now, all of a sudden, it's a surprise to her that the schools don't have the money to continue funding their basic operations because they haven't gotten more money for it. And then, of course, their ridiculous arguments of, well, it's the school superintendent's salary that is somehow causing this multi-million-dollar deficit. It really is ridiculous. And, I do believe that Cecil County voters are smart enough to see through that. I mean, if you're going to make a political argument, take some time and make one that actually makes sense. Not that was just so silly.
Yeah, I think I was doing some basic reading and understanding of things, and I thought to myself, where I came from Pennsylvania, where you had multiple school districts over the course of Bucks County. And here it's all county based, which I think actually works in our favor compared to our neighbor up north and in many aspects of county government. But for someone to run the entire school district, I think his salary is actually appropriate. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of education. That's a lot of decisions to be made. And his salary has nothing to do with the fact that we haven't received enough money to keep up with the economy. Like if I went to the gas station and said, I'm only going to maintenance and effort you $2 a gallon, I'm not going to have any gas. It's not going to work. You also raised a really good point, though. You're not going to go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Just touching on his salary. Here's a fun fact, and I'm not taking up for him, but here's a fun fact. The average superintendent, public school superintendent in the United States, makes more than their respective governor. Here's a man that has 40 years of experience in education. He took a $15,000 pay cut from his predecessor when he came in 2018. He negotiated in 2022 a new contract with the Board of Education that had built-in raises. That's apparently what the market value is. Add to this that he has a doctorate of education. Generally your income is kind of based on your education level. Okay, that's about what the market value is. Now, it seems to those of us that especially me, living on a cop salary, $250,000 is a lot of money, but it isn't when you look at what he put into it to get it. And again, it's market value. Now you contrast that with the salary of the county executive, $98,000. There is no educational or work experience requirement to get that $98,000, which is double the median the median salary of Cecil County voters. In fact, the only requirement, it seems, to get to make that $98,000 is you got yourself elected. Now, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to say, well, his salary is part of this deficit when it's consistent with what it would be anywhere else. It's funny too. A few months ago, I think last year, actually last budget, the Cecil Wade came out with an article where the county with Danielle Hornberger upped the salary of her county administrator by $28,000, the county attorney by 30 some $1,000, and said, and she has a point, that if you want to pay for quality people and you want to have quality work, you have to pay quality salaries, and that makes sense. My question is, why doesn't she apply that to the school system? You would think that the school system and public safety would be the two things that top that list, that you want to fund at appropriate levels to get the best quality education for our kids that you could possibly get. Starving them of these funds is not going to make things better,
No,
whatever issues you might have with them.
yeah, I think by paying taxes just as a regular adult and citizen and resident, I think to myself, I would hope if I call 911, somebody shows up in a reasonable amount of time to fix whatever's going wrong. I hope that when I send my kids to public education, they receive a fair, reasonable, and appropriate education. And I hope, I don't drive into a pothole that destroys my car. I've definitely had that happen in Philadelphia before. Lost a few tires, bought a bigger car, so that doesn't happen there. We're talking salaries, though, and I think a little bit off script is a good question about other aspects of the county. Is public safety, the sheriff's department, the paramedics and emergency services, are they all as drastically underpaid as I would expect them to be?
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yes. And you know, it's funny. When in 2020, when Danielle Hornberger ran, she ran on the campaign of Back to Blue, Back to Blue. Back to Blue, for those of us that are law enforcement, means something a little sacred. The thin blue line not only talks about the thin blue line between citizens and chaos, but it also is used to describe the sacrifice of our fallen. So when you say we back the blue, that's not a campaign slogan for us, but that's what she campaigned on. The problem is that the second that she was sworn in, she has governed as anything but. I was on the bargaining unit for our first contract, and it was a very acrimonious relationship. Understanding that negotiations between county and union and labor is going to be adversarial by nature, but there should be some degree of okay, let's work toward the middle and get in something together. Because of that, Danielle Hornberger has presided over the largest mass exodus of public safety professionals this county has ever seen. Largest. And it's something that the sheriff's office in particular, the correctional office, the correctional facility in particular, it's going to take them years to recover from. And we're seeing the same thing with the schools. These cuts go in because she and these cuts are only. It's important for people to understand that the school board's not making these cuts. They're not saying this is what we're cutting. They're saying this is what's going to be cut if the basic minimal funding is provided again. That if that's all there is, then this is all we can afford. Any additional funding over that is obviously going to ease the cuts. But the school system is now finding out that the apathy and the mismanagement and basically don't care attitude of the Hornberger administration, it's going to take them years to dig out of this hole, just like the sheriff's office and the detention center and other public safety departments are finding out. It really didn't have to be this way.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I worked for years in Philadelphia Fire Department, and people left because the work was too overwhelming. The call volume was too high. The environment was too dangerous. The stress level was through the roof, and the income was fine. You made great money. You had six-figure overtime working paramedics making great money considering what they had in the counties. But it seems like people would make an exit from this area because of underfunding and underpay, not necessarily crazy dangerous type environments like you would experience in Philadelphia or Baltimore. It's crazy to think people would leave because we weren't paying them well enough, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, when you're the lowest funded school system in the state, and it's not going to get better. She's doubled down on this. It's funny. I just said, and it is the truth. She's presided over the largest mass exodus of public safety professionals this county has ever seen. And if she doesn't do something quick and swallow her pride and put aside her ego, she's going to preside over the largest mass layoff of teachers this county has ever seen. That is nothing to be proud of.
No. You also made an interesting point last night during our conversation that public safety and education are kind of two sides of the same coin. If
Yeah.
you don't educate, good functioning humans, you're going to have public safety problems. If you're not taking care of kids, kids aren't going to get educations and they're going to become liabilities to the community. Can you speak quickly about that two sides of the same coin concept with public safety and education, both whose fundings are at risk with her tenure?
Yeah, sure. We live in a county where almost almost four of your fellow citizens will die every month from a drug overdose. Those are the ones that actually die. but yet cutting drug education is on the chopping block. It makes no sense. If we want to keep people out, if we want to keep these kids out of the legal system so that we don't have to deal with them on our side, we want to give them an incentive to not make their living and make their money by selling drugs or stealing from other people or any of the other criminal acts out there that sometimes they feel like they have no option to survive. So this is what they do. Then it is in our best interest as a community to give them and provide them the quality education that they need to enter the workforce and thrive in a modern economy. And it's not just academic programs that provide that. We see that fine arts, which is on the chopping block, sports. This blew my mind. JV and middle school sports, and then with varsity probably pay to play, which is probably going to cut a lot of students out that can't afford to. Sports programs teach them not only discipline and sportsmanship and teamwork, but it also gives them the self confidence to go out there and again compete in a very competitive world. We want our students to thrive, and this starving of the public school system because it's what she thinks her base wants is going to be detrimental to that. And if we don't reverse this, we are going to see the.
So there you go. Part one of the Adam Streight interview has been concluded. If you like what you see, if you dislike what you see, if you are learning something from what you're seeing, I need you to do something right now. Like the video so that we know that you watched it. Comment below. Subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, Cecil County residents, those of you that this matters to the most, share it. There's a share button right here on YouTube. You can click it, drop it right into your Facebook, and share it with those around you. There are people that might not know about the Fund CCPS group. There might be people that might not know anything about anything. And if you share this video on Facebook, on your social media, on the platforms that you can, it'll get the information out. So there you go. Part one of the Adam Streight interview, his candidacy for the county executive office. Part two coming your way soon.